Oh, there we go. Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. It is Friday. Short week, right? Yeah, short week. But
I know she asked me, was this the short week or was that last week? And my first answer was, no, that was last week.
But it is Friday, which is always a good thing. So happy Friday. Thank you for joining Finance Friday. Hey, Jenny. Thanks for joining. Follow us on Twitter at Nova Wealth Management. Management's abbreviated MGMT. And like us on Facebook. And tune into our podcast, The Nova Wealth Show. And that's also on the Wooditch Network, which is just online. Today, you get extra fun stuff. Talking about financial arguments in marriage. This should be interesting. We did not rehearse. How do you financially be successful in a marriage? You know, finances causes a lot of arguments and a lot of stress in marriage. For most couples, I would say, at one time or another, there's financial stress. So, and that can put pressure on anyone. So, we're going to talk today.
I would say not even just early in marriage, because usually when you get married early in life, you don't have any money.
Right.
And
you might have debt. You might have a lot of student debt or whatever.
Yeah, but I wonder if more people with money argue more.
Have more arguments.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about all different phases of marriage and what to do specifically to avoid financial arguments and how to get out of the what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine mindset. So we have some strategies that you can do financially in marriage. And then also, I actually thought of other financial stresses on marriage are things like long-term planning. So if one of you gets sick and one has to take care of the other, how does that work? And financially, you know, what can you do? And we'll do a whole Finance Friday on just insurances and things like that, which is obvious. But we'll get into specifics on what strategies that you can do to just help out anywhere along the line in marriage. So, we obviously are married. If you didn't gather that.
Is that obvious?
We are married. We are married. So, what you can do, well, first, let me say, if there's one of you that's a spender, okay?
Who's the spender in our house?
Obviously you.
How's that obvious?
What do I spend money on?
What do I spend money on?
Look how pretty you are. Look at your outfit.
You
my spend money on clothes.
That's all.
Just bought us a washer and a dryer out of nowhere. So, I mean, one of you, you're going to bring out a marital. We're going to give advice on how to avoid financial arguments, and we're going to be a financial argument today. No, really, one of you is usually the spender. If you're both spenders, then we have some tips for you too there. But one of you is usually the spender. The other is usually more frugal. One usually watches the bills and takes care of the bills. The other usually just inquires constantly. So, I mean, this can cause financial stress. And what you don't want is you don't want one of you to just start resenting the other. So, did you found something on how to, like, especially first when you get married? Let's go throughout life. So when you first get married and you come into a marriage, or, you know what, actually I'm going to go even before that. Before you get married, you should have a conversation about finances and debt and how you're going to manage that debt and how you're going to budget. That needs to come right before marriage. Hey, Megan, thanks for joining. Right before marriage. So go through your finances and you can watch or listen to our podcast on building a budget and get your budget and finances together before marriage. And then you have something about right after marriage.
Yeah, well, it just says merging finances after marriage, and then there's a kind of like a checklist here. And
okay.
Some of the key points are just be honest with each other.
Obviously, be honest. Communication.
Yeah, about your current financial situation, which I think is kind of funny because, like, if we're getting married and I led you to believe that I was, I had $10 million in the bank, then we get married. So I think it's kind of obvious it says, be honest with each other and your financial advisor about your current financial situation. So a lot of this is stupid. I think they could handle it. Megan and RT, are you guys okay? Everybody all right?
Hey, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Just me. No, but finances
so a lot of this
general,
stuff is obvious.
It's not, though.
It is. Be honest with each other.
Be honest and open. Gather your statements.
I'm not there yet.
Oh.
Don't look at my sheet. This is my sheet. This is your sheet.
Okay. Interview to marry. I'm offended. RT is offended at your vulgarity.
Oh, I'm sorry, RT.
Yes, he's very sensitive.
We'll say a
You're
prayer.
honey.
We'll say a prayer at the end,
Yeah.
so everyone can be
Yes.
absolved of their sins.
That's right.
Budget thoroughly in light of present and future needs. So budget. So budgeting is clearly important.
That's a big one. That is a big one because some people think like, oh, we'll just figure it out as we go. Well, but you need to build a budget before you can figure out where you want to go.
Yeah.
Budgeting is so important. People take that for granted. Like people think, oh, a budget is ridiculous. That's kind of, how am I going to stay on a budget or whatever? But budgeting, really try. Kiss your wife with that mouth. Megan said you kiss your wife with that mouth. You really got to try. Just try it once or let us help you. Just let us help you build a budget. And I promise you that once you at least have a budget and you know exactly where your money is going, everything becomes a lot more clear and a lot less stressful when you know what to expect. Nobody likes surprises. That's for sure. What else is on your list? I see 4 things on that list and you said 2.
Work towards shared savings goals, long-term goals. So you can't have, like somewhere in here, and this is obvious, but so many times when couples come together, they have different points of view on savings and debt and spending and things like that. And if you're always taking care of your short-term needs, you're not going to take care of your long-term goals.
I'm smiling because of Megan's comment.
What'd she say?
She said, a budget, question mark? Who, huh?
Yeah. Megan. I mean, Megan and Amy have done like probably 40 budgets.
No, 3.
Okay, 3 over the last 3 years. So 1 a year. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which actually is recommended. You should review your financial situation annually.
You should. You should revisit your budget annually. No one likes surprises and no one likes to have to dig out of a hole and try to come up with things. And that puts stress on a marriage. When you all of a sudden have a surprise or you get a bill in the mail that you weren't expecting and you didn't have the money for it, that puts stress on the marriage on what do you do next and how do you pay for it. That totally puts stress on the marriage. So if you can both set away money on a consistent basis, even if it's a little amount of money, I promise you it adds up quickly. I'm talking about even $20 a week. 20 bucks a week putting it away. And I'm speaking to some of you. Putting away $20 a week, which I know you can do it. You can cut out maybe a Red Bull, or you can cut out a cup of coffee, or a Dunkin' Donuts trip, or whatever. Go grocery shopping for a week instead of going to fast food. Whatever. You can cut out $20 a week and start putting away for savings. And before you know it, you'll have a couple $100 for savings. So if you get a bill out of nowhere, or you forgot to pay a bill or whatever, you don't have the financial stress in marriage. That's what it's about, really. Don't you think, like a lot of what we do, like I know we're financial planners and everything, but a lot of what we do is we really do plan for like vacation. Like we'll budget for vacation and we'll be on top of it. Like on vacation, we'll be like, how much did we spend? How much did we use? And hey, Aubrey, thanks for joining. I thought of Aubrey. I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an awful friend. I missed your birthday.
You are an
That was my first thought this morning when I woke up at like 2 in the morning or whatever it was.
Aubrey, I understand if you want to just jump off now since Amy forgot your birthday.
Anyway, but
I actually said, did you call Aubrey on your birthday?
You did.
I did.
Jim.
She's like, I need to. I'm just so busy.
Oh my
I don't have time.
Just stop talking. Obviously, she knows he's kidding.
Not kidding.
Anyway, what was I in the middle of saying? And then
doesn't matter. You were just rambling.
No, I wasn't.
So let's get back to the marriage.
Yes.
Things.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. The key in marriage is to being preventative, getting ahead of it instead of trying to react.
Yeah.
Because then there's no surprises and it doesn't put stress on the marriage. I know, but in marriage,
that's why I'm not crazy
tough.
about this topic, because I feel like it's all common sense. I mean, this is here.
Then why do you think so many marriages fail because of financial difficulties or because of financial arguments? Why is that then if it's common sense?
Is that written anywhere that it's financial?
The top 2 reasons of divorce?
Financial?
Finances. Yes. Can someone Google that, please? Megan, P.I., Google. Yes. So what can they do to avoid financial arguments. And one of our tips was just save even $20 a week. Put it aside for an unknown medical bill or something when the car goes wrong. Put away $20 a week. And if you keep your finances separate, that's actually another tip that we can talk about. Keeping your finances separate and each of you putting in a couple $100 into a joint account. And
I don't see how that can work, though. We've had friends that keep their stuff separate, and it blows my mind. Like, I don't get it.
But it works.
For them. So
it works for them. So it's a strategy.
So
if you both have much different spending habits, keep your finances separate. There's nothing wrong with that in marriage. I really don't think so. As long as there's communication and you have a joint account that you are both putting funds into to pay joint bills. It's difficult, I'll say this, it's difficult when you do just keep your finances entirely separate and you just say, oh, I'll pay 80% of this bill and you pay 20% because I make 80% of the money or whatever, try to divide it up.
But anyway, it is a solution for some people
I think the solution is to open that joint account and both of you put money into the joint account and pay bills out of the joint account. Money issues is the third largest cause of divorce.
Thank you.
And she put the source.
I told you.
Oh my gosh. So it's a common cause.
It's not a top 2.
Okay, so anyway, I have some other tips. Do you have any tips?
Not really.
Jim was not thrilled about this topic because he thinks it's like this
I think it's
common
stupid.
sense thing. Okay, so
here they say one of the things you should do though after you get married is if you do joint accounts or joint investment accounts, joint bank accounts, if you have life insurance, things like that, you need to update your beneficiaries.
Oh, good one.
And have a discussion about that. That is important.
Especially in blended marriages. You have to make sure your beneficiaries are updated, and there's different ways, and if you have arguments over that, there's different ways that you actually, when we put beneficiaries on account, you can do percentages. So you could do, 40% to one person, 60% to another. You don't have to worry about, who gets this account and who gets this account. And then on top of that, there's contingent beneficiaries. So there's what they call a primary beneficiary, which is the first person in line to get the funds. And contingent means if the primary is gone, then the contingents get it. So there's different ways that you can plan. And then, of course, there's a trust. So there's options. But that is a very big financial argument is who gets it.
Right.
And that's good.
On blended marriages, sometimes what she means by blended marriage, if we're a blended marriage.
Yeah.
I had twins from my first marriage. We get married. We have 2 of our own. So we have 4 kids now.
Megan, the kids are mine.
The kids are Megan's. That's a blended marriage. So what you may want to consider is a trust in those situations because the trust is very clean and you need to have an attorney draw up a trust and take care of that for you.
And we have several attorneys if you want several attorneys that we can recommend.
But why don't you explain why that's important or necessary?
Well, because a lot of people don't consider this, and I don't mean to be negative, but let's say, so when we're older and we have adult children, and let's say my adult child is inheriting my entire estate, and my adult child gets divorced. So if hey, Aunt Lavonda. So if I pass away and my adult child has a rights to my estate, I think I already said this, and then they get divorced, and in his or her divorce, then the ex-spouse gets a part of my estate. Okay, and then it doesn't go down to my grandkids, and then her and her new spouse are enjoying part of my estate.
And that's if you just use beneficiaries.
Right. So if you just use beneficiaries,
it's not in trust.
That could happen where your son or daughter's ex-spouse gets part of your estate, and your grandkids, their kids, don't get anything. So you have to think about this, even if you're not a blended marriage. This is if your kids have a blended marriage, or if they go through a divorce. Mm-hmm. So financially, that can cause a huge headache if part of your estate is going elsewhere. So that's something that a trust can eliminate.
Right.
Right. So other things that I wrote down is credit cards. So if you have issues with credit cards, so spending. So obviously, spouses can have credit cards. And then those credit cards, so even if it's an individual credit card, do you see where I'm going with this? It can
Not
get
really.
the
How
bill.
many credit cards do you have? You must
I
have
actually
20
do have
credit
one
cards.
on my own, but you're a signer on it.
No, I know, but don't you have like 40 credit cards?
I have a lot of credit cards. Only because, and we're going to do a whole either podcast or Finance Friday on the ins and outs of credit cards, but only because I get like 15% off at specific stores or like 5% off ongoing. And so I get the credit card because I get hundreds of dollars in rewards because of that. And if I'm responsible with credit cards, if you're responsible with credit cards, you literally get hundreds of dollars in rewards. I opened up that one credit card because they gave you, like, if you spent a certain amount in the first 6 months, they literally sent me a $750 check for spending a certain amount in 6 months. So I only opened it for that reason.
Is that my watch?
No.
Who sent you $750?
Capital One.
Wow. Great.
Yeah, so we'll do a whole Finance Friday on the ins and outs of credit cards and how to get the best bang for your buck on that too. But and also credit, your credit. So this is another stress on marriage is your credit. So let's say one of you has great credit and one of you doesn't have great credit. And so
Wait, did you go, let's say one of us has great credit and one of you doesn't have great credit.
I don't know what I did. I just did my right and left hand. No, we actually have the exact same.
No, I think mine's like 2 points better.
Okay, which can change in a day.
Well, I'm better.
So if one of you has a really great credit score and one of you has not such a great credit score, I used both hands, then that can cause a financial stress in a marriage because then one of you is going to have to go out and get, like if you need to go get a car, you don't want to put...
maybe it's because you have 40 credit cards. Maybe.
Because my credit score is 2 points lower than yours?
Well, it'd probably be higher than mine if you didn't have 40 credit cards,
probably.
Right? Doesn't that hurt?
Yeah, that hurts your credit.
Yeah,
and we'll do
the more available credit you have, the
more risk you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Well, maybe I meant to interrupt, but go ahead.
Maybe I meant to interrupt. You did mean to interrupt.
I did.
But so what you can do is you can have one of you have the credit card, right? And then just have, like I said before, like you can be a signer on the credit card. Instead of having to get like a joint credit card and then your interest rate is worse, or a joint loan and your interest rate is worse. Hey, Joni, we miss you. I miss Joni. We got to get together soon. So if you can just have one person get the credit card and the other spouse be the signer on the card, that wouldn't affect the rate. And that's a way to get that approved. You don't always have to do everything in joint name because that will affect the interest rate if you put the lower credit score spouse on
Did you see that?
the line of credit or the loan. That will make the interest rate higher and will make the payment higher.
All right. So I think we're good. Did we cover everything? Didn't we cover everything?
No, we haven't talked about if one of you gets sick. So if one of you gets sick, so in this example I am going to use, if I have to end up taking care of Jim for any reason.
I've had a rough week.
He has had a rough week.
I've been in the hospital a couple times this week.
Hey, Nat. Thanks for joining. Yeah.
Oh,
so far he's still here, Nat. That's good.
Nat, did you get past episode 2? Just type in what episode you're on. I'm just curious.
Talk about it a different day.
I'm just curious.
Okay. So if one of you gets sick...
one of my favorite shows of all time.
Okay.
Here's the thing. She drags me into this. I'm not crazy about doing these. So
especially
I'm
this
gonna have
topic.
fun on these.
Okay.
Because I was not feeling well before I sat down.
And I know, and I drug him
and
into
she
this
drug me in anyway because she doesn't care about my feelings.
Well, in my defense, you're not feeling well a lot lately. So I need to, distract your mind.
Yeah. All right.
So, okay. If one of you gets sick and the other one has to take care of the other. So...
The Wire. RT.
Yes, it is outstanding.
Season 2, episode 2. He loves it.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm so happy we established that. Does that put financial stress on your marriage?
Season 2, that's like he did the whole season in like a week, maybe 10 days. That makes me so happy.
Season report updates are on Wednesdays. Yeah, so on Wednesdays, we're going to probably start doing a cryptocurrency show every Wednesday because, Jim wants to do... It's Jim's idea. Jim wants to do more of these shows.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know if... Well, we'll see. I don't think we're going to do
So, long-term care insurance. All right. So, if you are able to get approved for long-term care insurance...
So happy.
Obviously, that is a way to help cope financially with financial difficulties. And if you can only get one of you insured, maybe because of finances, statistically, the male will pass away first. So, what do you always say? You want to insure... the wife, because statistically, if the male passes away first, who takes care of the wife?
Do you know why?
So you want to put long-term care insurance on the wife. I'm just going to keep going past this because
No. We had a client tell us this joke. You know why the men die first?
Why?
Because we want to.
Oh, that's funny.
To get away from our nagging
Didn't
wives.
we all think that was hilarious?
I thought it was pretty funny.
So if you can, you get insurance on the wife. Okay, and if you can't, the first places that you want to pull from if you're self-funding. So you want to look at the places that you can pull from to try to pay for expenses, finances, long-term care, because we kill them, Tamara said. I totally agree. You want to pull from places where you don't have taxes. So the first thing you want to do, you don't want to pull from just the biggest account. You want to pull from any life insurance with cash value, because that's preferential tax treatment. What else am I missing? Because my head's foggy right now because you're distracting me. Non-taxable sources. Roth IRAs.
Mm-hmm. You're looking for non-taxable sources?
Non-taxable sources to fund for long-term care expenses. Because this obviously we're talking about marriage and financial fights in marriage, but this can put stress on a whole family. So this is important. So taking funds from the non-taxable sources first. Mm-hmm. So again, cash value life insurance, Roth IRAs.
To fund the long-term care?
To fund, like paying for the facility if you don't have long-term care insurance. So I'm sorry if I said that wrong. To pay for the long-term care expenses if you don't have long-term care insurance, what's the liquidation order? How do you pay for it? A non-IRA, a non-retirement account, a non-retirement investment account, obviously savings. So this obviously is not a fun topic, and actually this is a whole topic in and of itself, so we'll cover that later, but I hope that gives just at least some quick tips on that liquidation order to try to pay for those funds. We talked about credit card, we talked about before you get married, being upfront, communication, a monthly spending limit. So, again, this will be on the credit card Finance Friday too. A monthly spending limit. Did you know that I get text messages? So I put a spending limit of where I want to be notified on a credit card. I actually don't know if talk about open communication. It's not that I'm keeping this from him. It's just I don't think I've ever really had a reason to tell him. So like whenever we hit a spending limit for, I think I do a day and I do a week. Let's say you hit a spending limit of $500. The credit card company will text you. Actually, this is American Express. So I don't know if other credit card companies do this, but American Express will notify you when you've hit a certain spending limit.
How do you set that up?
You just go online in your account, and there's like optional features or additional features, and it's under there to set spending limits. Daily spending limits and weekly spending limits, or maybe it's monthly. And they shoot me a text message, and if nothing else, it's a reminder that says, oh, you've hit a spending limit, to go in and see what I've spent the money on, where the money has been spent. Yeah. So if one of you can be really on top of the finances, that's a great way to just set a spending limit for the two of you to avoid an argument, and set that spending limit ahead of time. Have a discussion, like when you do your budget. How much should we spend per week, and then set that spending limit so you're on top of it.
Good. All right, we good? I think that pretty much covers it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anything else you want me to mention? Or large purchase alerts. Yep, that's another one. The wife has 40 credit cards. It's usually the wife that is the spender. Not in this marriage.
I'll stick around if you want to debate this. You don't spend money on your clothes. I spend money on my clothes. What else do I buy?
You just spend money in general.
Who was it that just told us I don't? Oh, Tamara. Tamara was the one that says he doesn't spend money.
Tamara. Okay, maybe in business.
What do you mean in business?
So maybe this is another disagreement in marriage is I don't spend that much money. Sit down. Let's look at the credit card statement. You look at your statement. This is how you figure it out.
No.
And it says by cardholder who spends what money.
Here it is.
You go to lunch every day and spend money.
Yeah. $8.80 for lunch.
But I go to the grocery store and buy lunch meat for $8.80.
No,
and
you go to
Whole
Foods and buy a bunch of bars
in bulk, so I get a 15% discount.
And nuts and berries, and
hair
it costs
products,
like $80.
I don't buy any hair products.
No, she doesn't buy hair products.
Tamara does. I don't buy hair products. I don't even own a blow dryer.
But I bet you spend more than I do because you go to Whole Foods and spend.
So we'll settle this. So you can look at your credit card statements and see who spends more. Credit cards. Again, we need to do a whole Finance Friday on credit cards. But
let's wrap it up. No, we don't need to talk about that. So, hey, thanks for joining us.
Versus a debit card. Credit cards versus a debit card. Maybe that's next week.
Okay. Yeah, another fun topic.
So
let's come up with a fun topic. This topic was not fun.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to do these if it isn't going to be beneficial for people. Right? Somebody give me an amen or something here.
So keep separate finances if you have different spending habits. Set spending limits on your credit cards. Set a budget and discuss ahead of time so that you set the expectations so there's no surprises, so you don't end up resenting each other. Good. Have an awesome weekend. I'm glad Jim enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
See you next week.
The drama. See you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.